You're on the Six Screens TELE-NETWORK, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, and exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, the end is near.
Well, can you believe it's September 18th? My goodness, summer's almost over. But hey, we are moving in the right direction. We are seeing the Watchtower in free fall. We are counting down the last days of the Watchtower. Well, welcome in to Six Screens, JW World News. We do it every Saturday night and every other Sunday right here on the Six Screens TELE-NETWORK. My goodness, what a week. What a week. The Watchtower friends, I'm telling you, they are beginning to worry. I mean, they've been worrying for a while, but they are now going into panic mode. They've got to be. They've got to be. Well, we're going to be talking about why. Stay with us. My name's Rick Farron. I'm coming to you from the apostate capital of the world, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And how good it is, how wonderful it is that we have so many apostates up here. And if you're worried about apostates in your neck of the woods, don't worry. They will be coming very, very shortly, because there's more and more people right now leaving the Watchtower, I believe, than ever before. Now, some people are debating that. Some people say, well, Rick, back in, when Charles Taze Russell died and when Rutherford took the organization over, a lot of people left because they didn't want to go along with Rutherford. I understand that. And then some people say, well, Rick, there were thousands, in fact, 200,000 plus that left back in 1975 when Armageddon didn't come. I understand that. But right now, we've got something very different than we had back then. We now have PMOs. Oh, what is a PMO? Physically in, mentally out. That's what we have today. Plus, we have a lot that are throwing the towel in. They're saying enough is enough. I've had enough. I don't want to be a witness. And they're just outright giving letters of disassociation. They're just outright even saying, go ahead, disfellowship me. I could care less. Plus all the PMOs, huh? Physically in, mentally out. Well, anyways, I'm glad you're with us tonight. And I'm thinking that right now, I mean, we've been doing this program for 16 years, and I have never seen what's taking place like I see is taking place now in the Watchtower. I say the monkey died, the circus is over. I don't know how much further these guys can go. Stick a fork in them, take them off the grill. Well, this is my favorite night of the week, I tell you that. And I'm so glad to be able to invite you guys into my home, and we can all sit around my coffee table and we can discuss what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, I mean, let's get right into it. I'm thinking, in fact, I'm really beginning to come to grips with the fact. I know I've been saying it for many years. I've been saying we've been counting down the last days of the Watchtower. But friends, I have to tell you, the future right now, it looks bad, really bad for the Watchtower. I believe that the decrease that we're seeing now and that we're going to see in the near future is exponential. Friends, it is super big. More and more people are leaving. In fact, I can see it's like a snowball, right? Think of a snowball, a little snowball. is a little thing, you roll it up and you send it down the hill. And as that snowball goes down the hill, what happens? More and more snow sticks to it. And boy, it becomes a big snowball. And boy, so big, and it's going to cascade right off the side of the hill here very shortly. That's what's going on in the Watchtower. It's like that little snowball. It's now mushroomed. And I think the organization is really in deep trouble right now, especially if they're going back to the meetings in person. Think about it. So many people have left. It's not going to be the same. And even if they go back to the meetings in person, the Kingdom Halls are going to be empty. They're going to be empty. And there's going to be nobody to want to go out in the preaching work if they ever even do it again. So what's going to happen is if you open a Kingdom Hall and say, okay, let's come back to meetings, and then you have, the Jehovah's Witnesses who are still loyal go back, they're going to find so many empty seats. How are they going to handle that? The effect could be contagious. How would you handle it? Well, what if you were Jehovah's Witness right now? And all of a sudden the organization opened up the Kingdom Halls. And they said, okay, come on back. Our meetings are open again. So what would you do if you went into a Kingdom Hall and you see half of the people missing? What would you say? Friends, you'd probably say, what's going on? What do these people know that I don't know? And you'll start checking things out online. You'll start asking questions. The effect of empty seats in a Kingdom Hall could be very contagious. Let's go with that. The people coming in are going to catch what the others who aren't there got. And so as more and more wake up and more become inactive, the effect of all of this is going to spread rapidly, exponentially, as we say. So that's what's going to happen. That's how I feel about it. Maybe you don't feel that way, but I'm going to tell you something. Young ones, do you think young ones are zealous? Do you think that they have a deep-rooted faith and deep-rooted belief in the Watchtower organization? Well, if you do, you're thinking in the wrong direction. We had a young man on here last week. His name was Brandon. He was on my news last week. We interviewed him. A young man, 19 years old. His mother and father kicked him out of his house because he was having apostate feelings. He didn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness. So they kicked him out of the house. And I'm even going to tell you something that saddened me. Brandon came on last week and he said he was even autistic. Can you imagine that? An autistic young man being thrown out of his house because he didn't want to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses anymore. So the young ones, including Brandon, they know there's no future in the Watchtower. Toodaloo, see you later. Now, how about the old timers? Say those that are in their late 50s and above. Well, all of you guys, you could remember the glory days of Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, I mean, a lot of these older ones, they're dying off rapidly too. I've been seeing a lot of my ex-witness friends die. So they're dying off. And many who are even alive, I mean, let's face it, the late 50s is not old. But some that are still going forward, they are waking up too. They are seeing something's wrong with the Watchtower. For friends, they're barely getting any new ones in from the field. How are they getting new ones in from the field? How can you do that by writing a letter? I've got letters that have been written to me too from the local Kingdom Hall. What do you do with a letter? You throw it in the barrel, right? And then, I mean, let's face it, the internet continues to destroy the organization. That religion is doomed. Let's face it. People, the witnesses now, they're being trained how to get on the internet. And that could backfire on the Watchtower. They're being trained to get on the internet. What's the first thing they look at? Some of these people that are doubting, they look at jw.org and look how foolish that is. And then they look at, what the world is saying about Jehovah's Witnesses. Then they see about all the lawsuits that are stacked up against the organization. How could they not see this? There has got to be major frustration among the rank and file of Jehovah's Witnesses. There's got to be. I can't think that they're just oblivious to all of this. And don't worry, Jehovah will straighten it all out. I don't think they're in that mode anymore. There's a lack of zeal. I'm telling you, there's a lack of zeal and a lack of excitement in the kingdom halls. They're not meeting in the kingdom halls, but in the congregations, I should say, on Zoom. Do you think those people are excited? Do you think those people have zeal? Do you think those people are totally committed to the Watchtower? No, they're not. The Watchtower has reached its tipping point. And I'm going to tell you, it's reached the point where there's going to be, and I believe it's already started, a mass exodus of Jehovah's Witnesses. They've had enough. That's my thoughts tonight. There's nowhere for the Watchtower to go. How can they keep hiding? How can they? My goodness, we're going to be talking about a documentary film that was released in Australia just this week, a few days ago. It is a great film. We're going to play some clips of it a little later on the program. But all of these documentaries, you've seen it. You've seen it on the different programs that here in America, and you've been seeing it now around the world. The world is now catching up with Jehovah's Witnesses, and that's a good thing. It's over. It's over for the witnesses. And many witnesses, I mean, they're going to still try to remain like, well, we're in, but they're seeing it. Don't you think for one second. Now, I'm going to give you some good news. If you have children or close relatives, mothers and fathers, but I'm mostly children, mostly young ones under 50 years old, I've got good news for you. I believe your children will be talking to you soon. I really do. And the reason why I say that, and I can't go into detail, but I'm seeing many people who have been contacting me, and they are telling me their family members, the young ones especially, are starting to contact them and talk with them. So I want to give you hope. I want to give you hope that this could happen to you too. So if you're in a room tonight and nobody's paying attention to you, and you're laying in bed and you listen to this program and you're saying, Rick, there's no hope. My children are never going to talk to me. Don't think that. Don't think that for 1 minute, because I'm going to tell you, these kids are waking up. They're seeing it. And I believe very shortly they're going to be knocking on your door or connecting with you. So there's hope. Don't give up, please. Don't give up. So that's my feelings on this. I just can't see, unless I'm looking through rose-colored glasses, as some people say, but I just cannot see how can an organization with so much critical, negative, cynical news, how can an organization like this continue to exist? It can't. It really, really can't. And let me give you something else. That you can kind of put into your repertoire of understanding. How about the American gymnasts this week? How about them? Look at how long the abuse went on with those poor girls. They suffered at the hands of a gymnastic doctor, Larry Nassar. And my goodness, and that went on and on for years, but finally, the government is catching up on this creep and this goon. And don't you think the Watchtower wasn't watching it this week? Really? Were you watching it? I bet you were. Watching it. It got my attention. It got my wife's attention. We were watching it. These poor USA gymnasts who were molested, raped, whatever he did to them sexually, it wasn't pleasant. And they were being abused by this man for years. It was reported to the FBI, and they did nothing. They did nothing. But this week, there was a congressional hearing that came up, and the girls that were molested came forward, and they spoke up about what happened to them. And I give those girls so much credit, just like people coming out of the Watchtower, just like victims of abuse in the Watchtower for speaking up. Many don't, but these girls did. And as Eva Michaela Maroney, she said that the Dr. Nassau, the one that was really abusing them, he turned out to be more of a pedophile than he was a doctor. Yeah, that's what she said. Now, isn't that what witnesses say too? That, some of these elders turned out to be more of a pedophile than an elder. Really, here they were putting trust, these gymnastic girls, in a doctor who was abusing him, but very similar, very, very similar to Watchtower here. The young victims who've been abused in the Watchtower, they put trust in elders, but the elder was the abuser. Isn't that something? So it was a fact that the FBI falsified records. They didn't come forth and let this be known. Upwards of 120 athletes have been abused by Dr. Nassau. And so sad it was, but the FBI did not report it. As a matter of fact, they held back. So what do you think about that? Did you watch it? Did you see it this week? Do you think the Watchtower was observing this? You let me know what you think. I'd like to know. Did you feel at all that there is now going to be a greater effort on the part of the government to look into pedophilia more than ever before because of these girls being so brave? What do you think? Come on, let me know. I'd love to hear what you think. Hit *6. Just hit *6 and come on.
They call the FBI certain agents enablers, and they're calling for some of them to be prosecuted criminally. And I hope the same thing can happen to the governing body.
Well, Randy, what was going through your mind this week when that hit the news?
I'm thinking that if the FBI made the news, so do the governing body needs to make the news too.
Well, that's exactly how I felt. And, right now, Randy, pedophilia, child sexual abuse is really getting good coverage. It really is. It's in the newspapers, magazines, TV. People are seeing it. And this is just another bullet in the back of the Watchtower. This investigation shows me that at least somebody brought it into the halls of justice and beginning to look at it, because it's a monumental issue, not only in the Jehovah's Witnesses, but in so many other organizations as well, as we see here. So hopefully something can happen. And I'm going to tell you something. Back in the year 2003, I was called, Bill Bowen. We all know Bill Bowen, right? Well, he has the Silent Lambs website, and he has all these people who have been abused by the Watchtower, and he records their incidents on his website. In 2000, I think it was 2003, 2004, somewhere around there, Bill Bowen asked me if I could go and meet with a congressional member, a congressman right here in Massachusetts. His name was Congressman Lynch of Boston. And I was asked if I could go down. I was asked if I could go down and represent the ex-witness community and speak out about child abuse in the Watchtower. Now, who else was there but SNAP? And that was a Catholic group. That was a Catholic group that also spoke out against the Catholic Church and how they were abusing children. So Bill Bowen asked me if I'd go down because he couldn't make it, which I did. I went down and we spent 3.5 hours with Congressman Lynch. And we told him all about the abuse in the Catholic Church. And of course, I, being the ex-witness, told him about the abuse in the Jehovah's Witnesses, and he took summaries, and they were going to do a congressional hearing way back then. As a matter of fact, he wanted me to contact people that were abused by the Watchtower, which I did, and to have them come forward with a summary, which they did. And he was going to bring us down to Washington, D.C. I guess it was going to be paid for and all the expenses, and they were going to bring us down for a congressional hearing on abuse in the Catholic religion, sexual abuse, and abuse in the Watchtower. Well, I got news for you. It never happened. Someone put the kibosh to it. So, back then, they could just somehow, nope, we're not going to discuss it. And that's what happened. But now maybe it could happen again. So I'm going to try again. To see if we couldn't get a congressional hearing to come forward. And hopefully the Congress people in Washington could take a look at this and really understand that there's a major problem. Now, they see the problem with the gymnastic team, and I want them to see the problem with the Jehovah's Witnesses. Whether something can happen or not, I don't know, but it's worth trying, right, folks? Okay, we're on JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about, but we talk about it all the time right here. Does someone want to speak up? But did you see the documentary? Did you watch that documentary, folks, on the news this week? What do you think? Is there a correlation? Is there anything you think that could come out of that hearing that could harm the Watchtower? I want to get your feelings. This is a conference call. I'd love to get your feelings on it. Why don't you speak up and talk to us? It's *6. All right. I guess you don't want to talk, but yep.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, yeah. Well, what I'd like to say about that that show they had on, Watchtower started to shut it down and pull it off the media. So if somebody doesn't have it recorded, they might not be able to find it. They took it off YouTube. I think they were trying to take it off Facebook and stop people from showing that over and over again to everybody. And I think that says a lot, because if they didn't have anything to hide, there'd be no reason for them to do that.
Well, what did they take off YouTube?
That show that they had on in the one you're talking about. What was the name of it? I forget the name of it.
Well, no, it had to do with the gymnast. They took that off?
Oh, no, I'm not talking about the gymnast. I'm talking about the one that wound up on the media itself. It was on TV in Australia, I think, or the UK, either one of them.
They took that off?
Yeah, Watchtower's having it shut down, yeah.
Is that right? Because I'm going to be talking about that tonight, but I think it's still on. Let me just double check here.
Well, there are places that you can find it, but Watchtower started taking it down. They started silencing it right away.
All right, did they? Well, I could see why they would. It was an excellent program, but we're going to talk about it. Thank you.
It was.
Yeah, no, thank you for checking out. We're going to talk about that. That program was really good, and we're going to be talking about that coming up here. I think that's our next story. Well, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, yeah, we appreciate that. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about that story. I don't know if you saw it or not. But friends, we've got some really great programs coming up tonight here on the Six Screens. You don't want to leave us. You really don't. We want you guys to listen to some of these programs tonight. We have a program coming up after JW World News at 9 o'clock. It's Heart to Heart. And if you haven't heard Heart to Heart, try to join in tonight. Dan and Angela Clark. What a dynamic husband and wife team we've got here. And they do programs every other week here on the Six Screens. They're coming on at 9 o'clock tonight. And they got a program. They have an elder. And this elder is really ticked. He's out. He left the Watchtower recently. And he's so upset with the Watchtower, he wants to spill the beans. He's going to be doing it tonight. He's upset with all the sexual perversion in his congregation. Evidently, he wants to speak about it tonight. So he's on Angela and Dan Clark's program, Heart to Heart, tonight. Boy, you got to listen into that program. It's going to be a 3-hour special. And then also what you want to do is you want to stay till about 11:30. We have After the Storm. Then we have another program with a lady's coming on. DeLon, her name is. She's an ex-witness. She is an author coming in that wrote a book about Jehovah's Witnesses. So stay with us. We got plenty of programming in Heart to Heart afterwards. Now, if you're on YouTube and you're wondering, how do I listen into these programs? Look in the description box below and you can see. All right, we've got someone coming in. Go ahead, you're on with us. Yes.
Just a quick question. You said there was a brother from Chicago that was going to be on. Who was that?
He was on earlier.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, yep.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Someone else want to say? Yep, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Jay from North Carolina. After that comment, well, the Watchtower took down. I clicked on it just to see if it's still there, and it's still there. So I'm watching it as we speak. It's on the YouTube, and it's called "Escaping Jehovah's Witnesses Inside the Dangerous World of a Brutal Religion." This was I think it was like a news documentary in Australia, and I watched it. It says ABC News in Depth. Below is the link for the show. That's the one you're talking about, right?
That's the one. We're going to be discussing it right now, as a matter of fact, playing some clips from it and letting you know how we feel about it here. Yes. Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, it's there. There's other things, of course, obviously. There was a show on, I don't know, Netflix or one of those called Apostasy. But this one on Australia, I'll comment now before let you go. But it's a news documentary. I think it's well done. And it has, since it takes clips from governing body, the governing body saying this is the last days of the last days of the last days. That's something that, even though the Watchtower may stop saying that someday, this video, which is you can download from YouTube, will last, and people will be able to see the silly things and predictions that the Watchtower has made, even though someone might say, "Oh, that's not legitimate." Well, you've got his face on YouTube. So, yeah, that was all I had to say, Rick.
Well, that's good. That's wonderful, Jay. I thank you for speaking up and talking about that, because we're going to talk about it here tonight. So that's wonderful that all of these programs are coming out. And I can only tell you that the witnesses got to be seeing some of these. You can't have. There's been a proliferation of documentaries done about the Watchtower, and I cannot believe that the witnesses aren't seeing this. Okay, we got one more caller before we move on. Go ahead, California.
Hi, Rick. This is Constance. I just wanted to go back to just briefly the topic you mentioned about Bill Bowen and the Silent Lambs. I have my friend here, and she just wants to make a brief comment, Rick, with regards to that, okay?
Oh, sure, yes.
Hi, Rick.
Hi.
Hi, Rick. It took 6 years for them to baptize me, and then an elder raped me, and I told them about it, and they didn't believe me. And it took them 6 years to baptize me.
Well, that's pretty routine. How do you feel about those guys today?
Oh, I'm really now. I don't even want to go to the kingdom anymore. My family's all into it. And my sister goes, "You didn't even go out for field trips." It's like, so I'm a little bit inactive, like our mother.
Well, I'm sad that happened to you,
You know?
sister. Yeah, and that's sad to have that happen. It can be devastating and really hurt you. But I'm glad.
Yeah, nobody believed me. All the elders go, "Oh, we don't believe you did that." I said, "Yes, you did."
Yeah, well, I mean, I believe you, because there's a long list of people that have been abused in the Watchtower. And I'm not talking hundreds, I'm talking thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Where's Connie?
Well, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you spoke up tonight. Thank you, sister. Well, there you go. My goodness gracious. I'll tell you, I mean, people call in, they tell us these things. I'm not, years ago, we were one of the first, we were one of the boldest. We came out, I'm talking, friends, we've been doing this for 16 years. And, I can remember when I was on YouTube 16 years, well, actually not 16 years ago, but I'm talking about around 2008, 2009. There was only a handful of ex-witnesses speaking up against the Watchtower. And now there's hundreds. And I love that. I love all the apostates on YouTube. But I have to tell you that back then we used to get a bad rap. People didn't believe us. We were talking about people being molested and little girls being passed around the kingdom halls like a football. I know that sounds terrible. We talked about these stories, and people would say, Rick, it's not true. You're sensationalizing. We weren't sensationalizing. We were giving you stories that were just over the top, and people couldn't believe it. It was so unbelievable. It was unbelievable. But now the whole world is catching up. Now the whole world, all the programs like the Six Screens lately, that they all are exposing the Watchtower. And these shows have, they have Bethelites coming in and, secretly hiding behind the curtain. But we had an actual Bethelite, Johnny the Bethelite. Nobody believed that man. But he came in and he risked his life speaking in from Bethel. And it ticks me off to this day that we got such a bad rap. Nobody believed him, but we were the first to get an actual Bethelite call in. He had his own radio program here on the Six Screens. Johnny the Bethelite. Punch it on the internet. He got so much criticism, and he did so much at the risk of his own life to spill the beans on the Watchtower. Well, let's take a look. Well, let's take a look here at an excellent documentary. You just heard from Jay Hess. There's an excellent documentary that was aired in Australia. It was on, I believe, the 13th of September, just a few days ago. I think it was Monday in Australia when it came on. It was an excellent documentary. Excuse me. It was the Inside the Dangerous World of a Brutal Religion. Well, you guessed it. The brutal religion is the Jehovah's Witnesses. And boy, wouldn't that title get your attention? And according to this lady here that just called in a little while ago, she says that I guess Watchtower is getting ready to take it down, so you might want to keep it. But anyways, this particular program is exposing the secretive world of the Jehovah's Witnesses. And, just to give you a little idea, most people, as the little text before the movie came on says, everyone thinks the Jehovah's Witnesses are lovely. They think they're lovely people, friendly, nice looking, maybe a bit quirky, who knock on doors. And it's very difficult to help people understand how dangerous this group is. Well, I'm going to tell you, that's Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm going to tell you another thing. I started calling the Watchtower dangerous and destructive back in 2005. Nobody believed it. They didn't think, well, Rick, you're a little hard on these guys. No, they're dangerous and they're destructive. And then, of course, the little prelude before, little text before the movie or the documentary was going to play. It says Jehovah's Witnesses are a religious group with 8 million followers in multiple nations, including Australia. A knock on the door and an earnest offer to share their teaching is the only interaction most people will have with this God-fearing organization. Few would know the extreme nature of their beliefs. I like that. Extreme nature of their beliefs. It is extreme. Russia, who banned the Jehovah's Witnesses, they believe the witnesses had extreme nature. And then the little text says, we were taught that only Jehovah's Witness people, well, as Jehovah's Witnesses, they were saying, we were taught that the only people that would survive Armageddon would be those in Jehovah's organization. And if we didn't go out and preach, this is what it's saying to witnesses, and if the witnesses didn't go out and preach, then blood would be on your hands. And you know what I'm talking about. You'd be blood guilty. If Armageddon came and you didn't do much to warn the people and your neighbor died, you could die too, because you would be blood guilty. They raised this fear in people, that they made the Jehovah's Witnesses like they're in some type of a fear bubble. A fear bubble. That's right. Well, there's more here, but I'm gonna cut right to the chase here. I'm gonna get the movie going. So let's get the movie going, the documentary going. I want to play some of it here. I'm going to play about 3 minutes of it, and I want you to hear it. Let's get it on big screen here. Let me make sure you guys can see it. All right, I believe you can see it on Facebook, and I believe that you can see it on Facebook as also YouTube. All right, let's start. I want to play. I want to play to, let's see. Okay, let's go right now. Let's play the movie.
Part of the final part of the last days, shortly before the last day of the last days.
8 million Jehovah's Witnesses around the globe believe the end is nigh for a world that is controlled by Satan, and only they will be saved.
He may use hailstones of undisclosed size to destroy those wicked humans. Now, during that time, will we need to fear the natural elements? Not at all.
They are raised in this kind of fear bubble in which they're constantly being told the end of the world is near, Jehovah God is going to murder people who are unbelievers, you are going to be judged.
But those who've managed to escape the organization say the real danger is from this group of ultra-conservative biblical literalists. Former Jehovah's Witnesses have come forward to expose practices they say have destroyed lives.
Everybody thinks that Jehovah's Witnesses are just lovely people, friendly, nice-looking people who may be a bit quirky, who knock on doors. And it's very difficult to help people understand just how dangerous this group is and what a harrowing experience people who leave have to go through.
They will rip you apart. They rip your reputation apart. They rip you apart as a person. I mean, they even rip me apart as a mum.
Spending 50 years as a Jehovah's Witness, particularly once you realise that it's not the truth, has a devastating effect upon you.
The Royal Commission exposed the treatment of victims of child abuse within the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Well, it's a pretty cruel way of dealing with someone, isn't it, who has suffered sexual abuse.
Well, to have 1,800 victims, over 1,000 perpetrators, and not a single case be reported to the authorities, to the police, it was shocking. I couldn't believe that.
In the years since the Royal Commission, little has changed.
If you refuse to accept there's a problem, then nothing can ever be done about it.
Why are you letting this happen to children? Now in Australia, those scarred by this group are fighting back.
It's worse than the Catholics.
What has this organisation taken from you?
33 years of my life. And I'm not letting them take any more. They're not taking another bite of my life.
Tonight on Four Corners, we investigate the secretive world of the Jehovah's Witnesses. We expose the practices that continue to damage a new generation of children. We show how psychological warfare is used against former members, and we reveal how its bitter fight to protect its reputation and assets re-traumatises those who dare to stand up to it.
Well, how do you like that so far? Boy, I'll tell you what, I enjoyed this documentary. This documentary was really something else. And I really have to tell you that anyone seeing this now, even if the witnesses weren't watching it, do you realize the damage? Now, that was on the Four Corners. I guess it's called Four Corners Network in Australia. And boy, I'll tell you what, a lot of people saw that was well done. That Renee Pickle, she was on there. She was one of the women, and she's been on our program before. In fact, when they were doing the Australian protest in front of the stadium, Renee was on, and a bunch of people from that protest. And boy, they made a big difference. And I want to look at that's why I'm saying nobody ever liked me protesting. Nobody ever liked me protesting. Rick, you are feeding in to the persecution complex. Well, let me tell you, that protest, it was shown right there in the documentary in Australia. That is what really initiated. That is what started this whole documentary on the witnesses in Australia. Protests work. You guys can say, no, they don't, all you want, but they work. I'm telling you. That got the attention of the press. The same thing when we had our protest up in Warwick, New York in 2017. Remember that one? We had like 56, 57 people in front of the world headquarters. We had the W5 camera crew come down from Canada. It was a news agency. It's the 60 Minutes equivalent in Canada. They came down, filmed the whole thing. Why? Because they heard about the protest. Don't you think for 1 second that protests don't work. I advocate protesting. I really, really do. You might not agree. But it's working. Finally, it's working. People have got to speak up. So anyways, so we're going to play some more clips here. But I didn't mean to go off on a tangent there, but it just, I'm seeing this is a wonderful documentary. This is beautiful. This is just total exposure of this evil cult. And what got them going was those brave souls, Renee Pickle, Matt Christopher, and a bunch of other people in Australia. They went over there to that stadium, Marvell, I forget the name of the stadium, but they went to the stadium and they protested. Good for you guys. You get a gold star. And as Mark Taff would say, you get 500 gold stars. So there you go. All right, so now let's do this. Well, let's play a little more. I'm going to scroll in a little bit. Then I want to get your thoughts on it. You guys have any thoughts at all? You're hearing some of this stuff. Let's scroll into 7. Let's see what's going to happen here. 722. Let's start right about here. And this is Stephen Lett talking about the last days of the last days. Let's see what he says.
The pandemic has put a stop to door knocking and temporarily shuttered the organisation's Kingdom halls.
Now the words coronavirus and COVID-19.
But the Jehovah's Witnesses believe COVID is a sign of impending doom.
The spread of this disease is distressing, to be sure. But we're really not surprised to see the world in the grip of such pestilence, are we? Jesus made it clear at Luke 21:11 that pestilence would be part of the sign of the last days.
Give me courage, with courage.
The organisation's in-house production studio pumps out slick instructional videos that deliver its unchanged message. The end is coming for everyone except them.
Hey, don't you think that's really good? Don't you? I tell you, I found this really. I'm going to give this documentary an A+. I've seen them all on the Iron Network, the Vice Network. I've seen them all, but I have to tell you what, I'm going to give this one an A+. The others I give a B. I give a C. I like this one. The photography, the cinematography was just beautiful. And everything was clear. You could hear it real well. The lighting was well. The people coming on, they didn't sound like crackpots who were ex-witnesses. I like this. I'm going to have to watch it once or twice more because I really thought it was I really thought it hit home. The message was done. They are brutal. They are a brutal, destructive, dangerous organization. There's no getting around it. There is no getting around it. Boy, I'll tell you, it's just amazing to me that people can view this. I know a lot of witnesses, they run the other way when a documentary like this comes on, but not all of them. But you know what? This is good. Do you know what this is doing? This is helping people. Even though the Jehovah's Witnesses might not be totally watching it, the world is watching it. And what that means is, well, that's the court of public opinion, right? So they're going to look at these guys have got such a tarnished image. At one time, when you were one of Jehovah's Witnesses, you could walk around with your nose in the air. Oh, you were Mr. Right. You were Mrs. Right. Oh, you had the truth. Nobody else had it. Boy, I'll tell you, the world is getting a different opinion. If I was a householder today and the witnesses knocked on my door, which they're not right now, but if they ever go back and they knocked on my door and I was a householder, the first thing I'd say, if I saw two witness men come to my door, the first thing I would say is, which one of you guys is a pedophile? That's how bad, that's how tarnished the Jehovah's Witnesses have become. They are just dirt in the eyes of the public. And every time people drive by a Kingdom Hall, I'm sure they say, oh, look, honey, that's a Kingdom Hall. Look, that's a Kingdom Hall. That's where they cover up pedophilia. Don't you think people aren't doing that? The world is getting educated. They are getting the skinny on who and what the Jehovah's Witnesses are doing. Amazing. All right, let's move on. Well, let's. I got some more clips. Well, let's.
A+ show, Rick. It really is journalistically very good.
Oh, you liked it, Pixie?
I did. From the standpoint of knowing good journalism, it was very good. The funny thing is, I tuned in thinking it was going to be the Four Corners region of America, and I ended up watching the expose.
So you did get to see it after all, though, didn't you? Yeah.
I did, but the Four Corners production company was misleading in a way, so maybe some witnesses will tune in by accident too.
Well, that's good thinking. I like the way you think, Pixie. Is that because you're from the South? You guys got a good head on your shoulder.
Probably all that news I did, Rick.
Yeah.
Probably all that news.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, you guys have a tendency to dig a little deeper. So I'm proud of you, Pixie. I'm proud of you. Yes, it was very journalistic. Yeah.
I was really disappointed this week when I looked at some of the assembly footage because I've left and I called the people in my congregation about the theft and the problems and they just brushed it off. And I keyed into the Zoom and they had half the people they normally have. And then I looked at some of the convention stuff, and they're rewriting my favorite Bible characters' stories from the Old Testament. They're not biblically accurate anymore. I was shocked because I had time to sit down and take apart what they were saying at this convention, and the lectures, the talks didn't make much sense. It was a great disappointment, so I have officially left.
Well, good for you, because how do you make sense out of nonsense, Pixie?
Well, in the old days, they did have some Bible truth and they did have some scholarship, but they seem to have thrown that to the wind. And like I said, they're rewriting the Bible stories. They've got, Bible characters giving little management scripts and things, and that's not what it says in my Bible.
Well, I'm glad that you're observant, and that is good. You're finding and wiggling your way loose from an organization that's preaching falsehood.
Yes, and they really are. It's getting wackier by the minute. It's some of these talks weren't making any sense when you take the grammar and what they're saying and you compare it in your Bible to the characters that you're used to and the storyline that everybody that's a Bible reader would take from it. It was a disappointment, but like you say, you get enlightenment, you get wiser as you get older. And I know that my parents, who are both gone now, my dad would say, that's not Bible.
Oh, good for him. Good for him. He would pick up on it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Well, I'll let you get back to your program. I'm probably going to contribute a little less in coming weeks. I'm just enjoying listening so much. The program is really fast-paced, and the things Reese had were exciting. And I'm reading a lot about Fukushima and the redwoods. Please pray for the redwoods. California is still on fire. And I'm just really enjoying the programs here every Saturday.
Well, thank you, Pixie. Reese will be on with us next week. But we got a good program coming up after this one, Heart to Heart. We have Angela and Dan. They have an former elder coming on, and he's going to talk.
That'll be exciting. I can't wait.
He's going to talk all about the perversion in his congregation. So he's coming up next. So that's good. All right, thank you, Pixie. All right, let's see what else is happening here. So let's scroll forward here. Well, let's talk. I'm going to scroll forward. The documentary is showing how brutal the Jehovah's Witnesses are. Plenty of people in Australia got a chance to see it. Now we're all seeing it on YouTube. Evidently, it's still up there right now. But we did have a caller call in earlier saying it's going to come off. But let's get to this. I'm going to scroll in 11:14, and it talks a little bit about the money. Oh, I love that, how much money the Watchtower is making, and even in Australia. So let's listen in, and let's hear about the money and what's going on with that.
World headquarters is a 100-acre site that replaced a sprawling Brooklyn campus, sold off in recent years for over $1 billion. The governing body oversees a vast global real estate portfolio held in regional headquarters and kingdom halls built by congregations around the world.
They're a big multi-billion-dollar asset business. Multi-billion-dollar properties. They sold their assets in New York and moved to New York State and built their new headquarters there, and they're building other big buildings.
The Australian branch owns at least 440 properties and last year reported an income of over $32 million. As a religious charity, it receives significant tax exemptions.
A charity doesn't have to pay income tax on its earnings. It may also have deductible gift recipient status, which is where the donor gets the tax write-off. There may be other taxes, including state taxes, which are forgiven for charities.
Oh, there you go. I mean, it's talking about some of the money, but we're talking a multi-billion-dollar corporation constantly asking for money, ripping the witnesses off left and right. Don't you love this? Don't you love how this is being exposed? Man, I'm telling you, the witnesses have got to be picking up on some of this. I just can't see that they're totally oblivious to this. I know how we all were, right, when we were witnesses. Oh, that's apostate. I don't want to hear it. But you know, I'm going to tell you something. If you keep hearing something over and over, and all these documentaries keep coming out, come on, I want you all to wake up now and smell the coffee. Don't you think, I don't care what type of a zombie trance you're in, eventually you've got to come out of the coma. They've got to be hearing some of this. How much can you just keep saying, well, it's okay, Jehovah's organization is imperfect? Yeah, we know it's imperfect. And not only that, they're scam artists and they're con men. So I just don't know how much longer the Watchtower organization is going to continue to go forward. Let's take a look. I want to get into this. Higher education. Boy, I'll tell you, this documentary, when you take all the ads out, it was only 46, 47 minutes long. But boy, it hit so many high points. It talked all about it talked about the money, it talked about the COVID, but now it's talking about education. It's hitting all the high points. Let's see what they have to say about education. Let's scroll in here. I got to get the scroller going. We're going to scroll into 1841. They're going to talk about education. And, maybe you're listening in tonight here too. And you say, well, wait a minute. I couldn't go to college. I couldn't do anything. The witnesses said that was worldly. And why would you want to do that? So let's take a look at that 1841. Okay, let's start right here. Okay, just stay with us. Listen in.
Look at the evidence. And this is seen by Jehovah's Witnesses as threatening because much of their history and their beliefs are not predicated on things that are that strong foundationally.
No single witness may convict another for any error or any sin that they may commit. On the testimony of 2 witnesses or on the testimony of 3 witnesses, the matter should be established.
The moral rules of the Jehovah's Witnesses are strictly enforced by all-male panels called judicial committees. They're set out in a manual called Shepherd the...
Excuse me, friends. I think I got the wrong clip there. I'm going to slide back. I want you to hear about education. Sorry for that, but let's just go back here. And I want you to hear about education. And, of course, Tony Tight Pants Morris, the man that was caught buying $1,000 worth of scotch up in New York. Well, he's going to talk about, listen to him. I think you'll find this really, really fascinating. 46, 47. Okay, let's 16. Hold on. Okay, let's listen in.
People is quite extreme.
To decline higher education and have the
Independent thought and analysis is discouraged, as is higher education.
higher education often instills a sense of superiority and self-reliance that is in direct opposition to the Christian personality. We will not need doctors or lawyers after Armageddon, but we will need carpenters and plumbers and similar construction trades.
I was given an opportunity in Year 12 to go to university. I was one of 6 kids in the school that was chosen early entry. And I remember when I got home that I showed Mum and we laughed and threw it away. Why would we get an education from Satan's system when we had the best education from Jehovah's organization?
I actually was science darks at school, and I got into a Bachelor of Science at Sydney University. But I never did it because I was told it was a waste of time.
In my opinion, they discourage people because in higher education, people are encouraged to critically analyze things, to look at historical facts objectively, to look at the evidence. And this is seen by Jehovah's Witnesses as threatening because much of their history and their beliefs are not predicated on things that are that strong foundationally.
No single witness may convict another for any.
Okay, well, there you go. So discouraging higher education. We all know that. Many of you guys out there right now, you had to settle for a menial job, just getting by in life, and you couldn't get a good career. You couldn't go to college. And today, because it's been going on for quite a while now, if you're an older one, you're probably retired now, and you're saying, man, all that time and effort I gave to the organization, I got nothing to show for it. And that's exactly what these bums do. They have hurt so many people financially that it's very, very discouraging. I think I'm still on here. I hope I am. I just want to make sure that you can hear me. Yeah, okay, I'm there. I just want to make sure I just look at my computer screen. We're broadcasting on 4 different networks, so it gets a little difficult from time to time. But boy, I'll tell you, this documentary, again, an A+. I give it an A+. It's the best one I've seen yet. It's the best one I have seen yet. And what I liked about it, there was always a peppiness. It was moving quick. It didn't drag. the witnesses that they talked to, the ex-witnesses, they were people with common sense. They weren't crazy people. And it was really, really good. I like it. And I think you guys like it too. All right, we got one more clip. And this is the clip that actually the trailer was working with. And it's about abuse in the Watchtower. How could you do a documentary on the Watchtower without talking about sexual child abuse and how they cover it up? So let's hear about this. And this poor girl, she was abused. Let's scroll forward to 3855, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But any documentary about the Watchtower, they've got to talk about sexual abuse. That's on their menu. I mean, it's the full menu. 3855. Let's go forward. 3855, and I want you to hear about the sexual abuse. I mean, you guys know it, but I think that you'll enjoy this. Okay, 3855. Hold on one second. Let me just make sure we got it right. 3855. Let's start right about here. Come on.
The job of an elder is to shepherd the congregation, to look after the flock, to keep them safe. That's their job, because we're Jehovah's people. And it's their job to keep us safe, and they failed.
Amy's mother says she complained about the alleged abuse to a witness elder.
There was meetings with the elders in my friend's home, but I was never believed. I was told that I was mental. They used my illness against me because I had that breakdown and I suffered manic depression. And so they used that against me.
As part of Amy's case, she's claiming that the elders must have known the alleged abuser had been convicted the previous year of offences against an 8-year-old boy.
So there'd just be no way that those elders would not have known that he was charged, arrested by the police and charged, and then went to court. There's just no way they would have not knowing about it. It just doesn't happen in that religion. People spy on each other. You're told it's your responsibility. You hear something about someone, you are to report it.
The Jehovah's Witnesses say local elders weren't aware of the prior conviction, and regardless, the organisation isn't responsible.
I just want to stop here for a second. Take a look at that Kingdom Hall. Take a look at that Kingdom Hall if you're on Facebook, YouTube, or our video suite. We're going to be talking about this story next. That Kingdom Hall this week burned down to the ground. Someone lit that Kingdom Hall on fire. It burned down to the ground. That's another story coming up. But this poor woman, Amy, she's older now, but she was abused when starting at 13 years old. And her mother was saying how it's all been covered up, and she was saying it too. Let's just continue on.
For the acts of its members within the family home. Despite Teresa's complaints, the man remained in the congregation and even gave Bible readings and talks from the stage.
It would make me so angry. It would make me so angry to the point that I would get up and I'd go outside and I'd just pace. And I'd just pace and I'd just be going around and around and around, and just that anger, because all I wanted to do was run in there and scream at them that he shouldn't be allowed up there. Why is he allowed up there? My room was completely dark.
After 30 years of suffering the consequences, Amy is now suing the local Jehovah's Witness congregation and the Australian head office.
Our job is holding them accountable in terms of...
I feel like what happened had a bit of a domino effect on the rest of my life, with things that happened to me after. So, yeah, I wonder sometimes what my life would have been like if that hadn't have happened. Would my self-confidence, my self-worth.
After 2 years of legal wrangling, Amy Whitby's case is now headed to trial. It would be the first time in Australia that the Jehovah's Witness organisation has defended sexual abuse allegations in court.
the courts in overseas jurisdictions have found that they have been found to hold a duty of care to children, and they have been found liable for breaching that duty of care. And we think that the Australian courts will make that same determination when they're called on to do so.
Well, that's all good news, isn't it? Boy, I'll tell you, poor Amy. But there's a long list of children that have been abused sexually in the Watchtower organization. And I'm so glad this documentary is exposing it, as well as all the documentaries we've seen on the Jehovah's Witnesses have exposed and continue to expose the cover-up of child molestation in the Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, who'd like to speak up on this? Did you guys get a chance to see this documentary? Did you get a chance to see this documentary? Well, why don't you call in and tell us what you think of it? But the sound quality, the cinematography, everything is so wonderful. Go ahead, you're on with us.
Hey, this is Chewy.
Yeah.
I thought it was a wonderful. It was, you know, and people think, you know, there may be people out there that say, oh, that happened to my kid. They didn't handle it right, but, you know, it's imperfection. And then when they see, oh, what's happening over there? Oh, what's happening over here? Oh, wow, I thought that was just happened to my kid. So maybe I ought to look into this a little bit more. You know, it's a wonderful thing. And it is on Facebook, too. It's on Facebook. There's a couple YouTubers that put it on XJW on their videos, too. And then it's on right when it came out, because I subscribed to that Google Alerts, which is a very good source.
Hey, come closer to your phone, Chewy. Come closer to your phone, Chewy, so we can hear you better.
How's that?
That's better, way better.
Yeah. But I got an email from Google Alert about it, and I already knew about it anyway. But I tapped the link, and it put me over to Facebook. So it's on Facebook. I checked it this morning. So a person can go to Facebook and dial in Four Corners, Jehovah's Witnesses, and boom, it'll pop up right on Facebook. You can watch it right on Facebook, too.
Well, thank you, Chewy. In fact, I want to tell you, I appreciate you sending it to me too. I got it, and I really enjoyed it. I'll tell you what, I'm pleased. I am super pleased. I give it 5 gold stars, easy, no question about it. Excellent. I want you to do it. Just type in right now on YouTube. Just type in Four Corners, Jehovah's Witnesses, brutal religion. You'll come up with it. Okay, run with us. Go ahead. Someone else want to speak up? Come on in. Now, listen, let's not be strangers. I really rely on you guys to come in. I know you like to sit back and just relax. Well, why don't you come in and call up and talk to us? I got an email today. I'd love to read you the email. And the woman said that what makes our program is people calling in and talking. And that gets me excited. That keeps me going every week. So if you could do that, speak up and talk and let people know you're on here and let them know your feelings. I could give you my feelings, but they want to know your feelings too. You're ex-witnesses, most of you. Go ahead and speak up. Okay, I guess you don't want to. I mean, I wish you would. We got a lot on here.
It's Chewy again.
Yes, Chewy.
Hey, just one other thing is they had this thing, that video. I don't know how many it's got now. But they said that because the YouTube took it down and then somebody put it back up. But they said that thing has got about 300,000 views already. I mean, that's just amazing. It's amazing. And I haven't checked the other YouTubers, but beginning of last week, I checked Cedars. Cedars was at 92,000. I checked him yesterday. He's at 95. 95,000. He claimed 3,000 subscribers in a week. That's just wow.
Wow.
Where are they coming from? They're not atheists that are getting on his YouTube channel. I can guarantee you that. There may be some of them, I'm sure, that are ex-witnesses that are atheists, but they're not coming off the street. They just some atheists going and clicking on that.
With the timeless protection of
witnesses that are doing that.
Oh, no, the witnesses are getting out big time, Chewy. They're getting out big time, and they're leaving, and they're trying to find out. They're coming into all these YouTube channels. They're coming in here to Six Screens. They're coming in, and they want to know what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Thank you, Chewy. Okay, come on now, guys. Let's.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Farron.
Yes, Ken, good to hear from you.
Yeah. Well, I just want to quickly say right now I'm doing better and everything like that. A lot better here. And I just want to comment on these. I listened to the news there with interest, but with a lot of outrage. I'm hoping that, you know, I'm just sorry to hear all this pedophilia and all that, and I'm hoping that they're going to start they're going to start cracking down on these witnesses for this, because it's really outrageous what you hear. And it's really outrageous how they cover up this pedophilia and other crimes against humanity as well. And so my heart goes out to all the ex-witnesses and those that have been, especially those that have been abused, you know, and I just hope that there's going to be an end to this pretty soon.
Well, that's going to be good. I'm with you. I'm hoping too. So,
Brother Farron, one thing I learned as a witness kid, we learned to be tough. We were told that we would win in court. And we were told that even if we were the only person on the field, like David and Goliath, we would triumph. And if I can take anything away with me as I walk away, that's what I'm taking. I think that we will be the David and they're going to be the Goliath.
wow, a good analogy, Pixie. Very good analogy. Thank you. All right, we have got Canada coming in. Go ahead, Canada. Go ahead, Canada.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Well, you know, it's funny. It's funny that you, well, maybe not so funny because you're on top of this stuff, but I guess it's funny that this morning I was in the kitchen and my son, he's staying here right now. He's normally in Indianapolis, but he's back home for COVID. Anyway, he came into the kitchen this morning and he handed me his iPad. He said, "Here, look at this." And it was some clips from the video that you're talking about. And a friend of his, absolutely has nothing to do with witnesses or anything, just friends that he has in Indianapolis. She had sent him this. She had watched this video. I don't know exactly how she heard about it, but somehow she heard about it, and so she sent it to him and said, "Is this really what it's like with these guys?" And like he said, he tells me that growing up, it seems like it's worse for people now. Like, I mean, my wife and I were pretty liberal with our kids anyway. I mean, we didn't apply all the really strict, stupid stuff back then in the 80s. Like, so I guess maybe there's a little bit of difference. He has a bit of a different outlook. But anyway, it's making the rounds, Rick. I think you just said it's got 300,000. Somebody just said it's got 300,000 views already. And I think it just got released very recently. And it's not just witnesses watching it, it's other people or ex-witnesses. Witnesses or ex-witnesses, because this woman has, other than casual knowing my son, nothing to do with it. So it's good that this stuff is going to get out and people will learn what's really going on. And, you know, it'll start to make, it's going to rub off on witnesses who are still have their head in the sand about the whole situation.
Well, thank you, Brian. My goodness gracious, that's exactly true. It's gonna hit them. It's gonna hit them like a firestorm here. You just can't have all these documentaries coming forward and, oh, well, nobody's hearing it. They're hearing it. Thank you, Brian. Well, you're on JW World News, the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about. We talk about it every Saturday night. Let me just type in a telephone number. If you're on YouTube, I'm going to type in a telephone number for you. If you want to call in, it's 727-731-6701. No pin needed. Why don't you call us in? We got a lot of people listening in YouTube here tonight. So why don't you call us up tonight? And let me see, I got the right number there, 727-731-6701. Yeah, give us a call. If you're on YouTube and you'd like to check in with Six Greens here tonight, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and do that. Or anybody from Facebook, or if you're listening in on the video suite as well, we do have a number of people on our telephone line, but we love to have callers. So let's see if we can't get you to call in. And when you do call in, just listen to the prompt, and then if you want to speak up, you hit *6, and you'll be able to speak up on our live program here tonight. So let's take a look. Let's see what else is going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, I'll tell you, I don't know if you realize it or not, but I'm realizing it, and I think many of you guys are too, that the Jehovah's Witness organization, the Watchtower, they are really going overboard with their COVID instructions. We do have an insider. He goes by the name of Atlantis, and he sends information to me every week. These are the announcements that they're going to read at the Kingdom Hall. And Atlantis sent me a couple of announcements this week. One is okay. The other I'm going to take to the bank and cash it because I see something going on in the Watchtower that is helping them. And of course, there's a COVID letter. It's about the COVID. And there's like a sheet, a sign saying what you're supposed to do for COVID. Pay attention to your local authorities and your local government. Make sure you wear your mask. Make sure you wash your hands. All the things the governments are telling you to do. The Watchtower is coming forward and telling the witnesses, instructing them, sending these so-called, like a sign. It's an instructional letter on what to do and what not to do. Follow the government, follow the governing body when it comes to COVID. Friends, they are using this as a crutch. They don't want to go back to meetings. They don't. They want to scare you to death. They're even saying that this pandemic has created a problem. A lot of the older witnesses shouldn't be going out. They should have some other witnesses go out and do the shopping for them. Well, you'd be hard pressed to do that. Jehovah's Witnesses aren't generally accommodating to one another. So the governing body is saying that older ones should be very careful with this pandemic and certainly obey all the local laws and ordinances. And they really are pushing this pandemic. I mean, friends, people, look at the movie theaters. They're open. Look at the sporting events. 50,000, 60,000 people. Look at the college football this weekend. Thousands of people going into stadiums, many of them even unmasked. But the witnesses are still saying, be careful, be very, very careful. But, I'm going to tell you something. This pandemic is creating monumental issues for the Watchtower. No religious leader should have the power to tell you what medicine you should take or shouldn't take. And that's exactly what the Watchtower is doing. They're coming out with these, well, we see it on their video updates, right? Oh, make sure you get your COVID virus. Well, virus shot? Make sure you get the vaccination. Well, who are they? Who are they to tell you what you should do and what you shouldn't do when it comes to medicine? I mean, are the churches of Christendom doing that? Absolutely not. Now, I've been hearing here at the Six Screens and getting information coming into the Six Screens that many Jehovah's Witnesses who have privileges, well, they're stepping down from privileges and they're not commenting at meetings. They're not taking a position. They're just fed up with the Watchtower over their stance on the vaccines. See, it's hypocrisy. And let me tell you why it's hypocrisy. The Jehovah's Witness organization right now is filled with hypocrisy. The governing body is telling witnesses not to talk to other witnesses about their choice to vaccinate or trying to influence medical decisions. So the governing body is saying, don't go to other witnesses and interfere with their position on the vaccine, and don't interfere with their medical decisions. But then on the other hand, the governing body is calling for unity. In the last update, they were saying that 80% of all of Bethel is vaccinated. So they realize it's okay for the governing body to suggest vaccinations, but it's not okay for the rank and file to voice an opinion one way or another. So you have a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses that are, I'll use the term anti-vaxxers. They don't want the vaccination. They're not supposed to talk about it, but the governing body is talking about it. So it's okay for the Watchtower to come out and say, we're all vaccinated and you should get vaccinated too. But if you're a rank and file witness, you can't talk about it. Don't say anything about it. You can't give your opinion. So, another thing too, the governing body and the Watchtower, they're so quick. They're so quick to criticize other religions for what they're doing, specifically when it comes to sexual child abuse. We know that. But if a witness, this hypocrisy is beginning to get to the rank and file. If a witness mentions the child sex abuse inside the Watchtower, they essentially have a bullseye put on their back. Oh, look at that. Brother Farron is talking about child sexual cover-ups. They have a bullseye on their back. This is hypocrisy. The Watchtower can condemn the Catholics, condemn the Mormons, condemn anyone they want for covering up child sex abuse. But when it comes to a witness speaking up and going to an elder, oh, brother elder, I saw this documentary this week, and it was portraying witnesses, Jehovah's Witnesses, covering up child molestation. I saw that. Man, I'm telling you, you got a bullseye on your back. Hypocrisy at the limits right there. So, but there's a silver lining here, folks. I'm telling you, all this hypocrisy, it's all going to come back and haunt them. There's a silver lining. The vaccines may be what I'm going to call right here tonight the silver lining. People are waking up because of the COVID vaccine, and they are beginning to doubt the Watchtower because of their double standards. This virus might be doing more good than you would think. The rank and file PMEs, those that are physically in and mentally in, they must start to feel that they are really lost. Those that are deep and loyal in the Watchtower, they must feel they're really lost. Maybe for the first time in the organization, because there's no clear answers. There's no direction, no indication of a real plan, no timely spiritual food. The Watchtower organization is in a tailspin. It's floating around in a sea of uncertainty, and it's creating problems in the Watchtower. Okay, you're on with us. Go ahead. Michigan. All right, we've seen them. Who'd like to speak up? Friends, we've got a lot on. We got a lot of people coming through here tonight. Why don't you call us up and talk to us? You just want me to do the news? I want you to come in. You're part of the newscast. You're part of this. Can you step out?
Hello, Mr. Farron.
Yes, Ken.
I was listening with interest on their COVID position, which is flip-floppy, of course, like you said right there. And for the fact is, there is no science behind this COVID issue here. I've heard on the newscasts that the more the people are vaccinated, the worse the COVID crisis gets. And they thought that it was these vaccinations that was going around is going to alleviate the COVID crisis. But right here in Michigan, it's coming back right now. And right here in Delaware County, it's getting worse. There was one death recently here and so forth. And so around the country, the COVID crisis is getting worse. It's no matter, according to the news, no matter what somebody does or anything like that, and a lot of stuff that they're promoting here, there's no science behind it. So, I mean, who knows what's what? There's just so much misinformation. A lot of it is accurate, a lot of it is inaccurate. So much information out there, it's hard to sort out what the facts are and what's not the facts.
Well, you got it, Ken, right. But, you know, if a religious organization is going to poke their nose into it and tell you what you should do, if they don't have all the facts, I would keep it to myself. I wouldn't come in and start telling the witnesses what to do when it comes to a vaccine. We got a sister on. Go ahead, sister. You're on with us, sister. Speak up. You're on with us. 191. You were on with us. Go ahead. If you don't speak up, I'm going to mute you. Speak up. You're on with us.
Oh, hello.
Yes.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi. It's weird because I'm watching you on the TV, but the TV's not. It's not in sync with the phone.
Well, no, don't worry about that. There's a delay, so just don't watch the TV. Just listen on the phone. Talk on the phone. Yep.
All right. I'll just talk on the phone. Well, I got through.
Well, thank you.
My name. I don't want to say my name actually, but hello. I'm happy to talk on your show.
Well, thank you.
Are you there?
I'm here.
Yeah, I tried a couple times before. I never knew quite how to do it. I always seem to get it wrong. But anyway, I've been out for 2 years about, and it has been kind of lonely in that. And anyway, I haven't got to watch a lot of today's show. I just caught a little bit of it. I had to do so many things today. So anyway, I saw the documentary. It was really, really a very good one, I'll tell you. And that one ex-brother with the beard, I can't think of his name. His testimony is so profound anyway, even before he was on there. I really loved it because it really hit home, and it's so true. Anyway, I don't know if you were going to say something. I personally, I have kids, and I was on, I think it was Barbara Anderson's site, and I was looking through transcripts. And I found my congregation. And lo and behold, I found there was a case. And the weird thing is, there were lots of, I had faded, but I was a POMI. And so I wouldn't research, of course. And so when I went back to try again, I wondered why nobody was hardly there. It was like half the congregation was gone. And then, I didn't quite get why, but now it all kind of makes sense and that family was gone, and it was a boy that he had been molested, and the elders blamed him, and he was only like 11. And the upsetting thing about it, also the horribleness in that, is the boy wasn't the only one later that was molested. And it turns out I never got warned, and I was a mother with children there, and my kids could have easily been targeted. And so it really upsets me that this brother that had molested him, he was a ministerial servant. And when I looked at the transcripts, the coordinator actually was one that's studying with my son and getting him in, who's an adult now, you know, but he's a father. So he didn't warn him that, oh yeah, we have a problem, by the way. So it was really upsetting. And it just shows they never, you know, warn. So it had been some years back, and the coordinator, I don't think, was involved in the case. I think he had to put his name on the document because he was the coordinator, but it was before he was in there when it was split, and then they had joined the congregation back up because it shrunk so much. So anyway, so are you there still?
I'm still here. Yep.
Hello?
Yep, I'm still here.
Okay. Yeah, I don't even know if this is on the air or not.
Oh no, you're on the air. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, it was very upsetting. It hit home, and I actually have had to report it for my own children that I found out it happened. And the minute I found out that it happened to my children, I'm glad I didn't know I was supposed to just tell them. I didn't tell them. I told the authorities. But it wasn't a brother, so it was a family member that wasn't, witness. And so, no, they have found out after the fact, the elders, and they never said anything. That was the odd thing. So everything worked out for them. They got the therapy and all that. But, and so it hits home very badly. For me, I actually had opposition, a lot of opposition with in-laws, let's just say, because of that, what I did, but I'd still do it 1,000 times if I had to again for my children. And I can't understand anyone picking somebody else over their children. I just can't handle it, the thought of that. So anyway, I just wanted to add that.
Well, thank you for sharing that story.
That was one of the things that woke me up.
Yeah, well, you're a
One
real trooper, and you said enough is enough, and I appreciate your courage to do that. It's not easy to do it, sister, but thank you for doing that and sticking up for your children and saying, that's it. I don't want to be a part of this evil organization. Thank you, sister, for calling in. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, I will do it again.
Yeah, do it again.
Hello from California.
Well, we're here every Saturday night, so don't be a stranger, okay?
I won't.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Well, there you go. So there's another sister there. I mean, she's talking about abuse too. Well, we're not making this stuff up, friends. This is brutal. I mean, that's why they even called it a brutal program. Jehovah's Witnesses are a brutal religion. That's what they are. What else could you call them? They're a brutal religion. Well, we're really getting a lot of people calling in here tonight. I do believe we have someone else on. Go ahead. You're with us. You can hang up now, sister. We have a new sister coming in now, too.
Okay.
Go ahead. We got area code 190. Go ahead. We have you on with us, so go ahead and speak up. 190.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, I was just, this is the first time caller, and I love your show.
Well,
I
thanks.
watch you on YouTube.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and I was just, I had heard that the society, the Watchtower, had stock in Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine. And I just wonder if that's the reason they're really pressing the brothers to take this.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. I checked today to see if that's the case. And of course, they are suggesting all witnesses get the vaccination. Is there a monetary reason for doing that? But the Watchtower does have stock in Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson. I'm not sure about Moderna. but it did come up as Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, I just figured that was another reason that they're really pushing the vaccines on the witnesses right now, because it's a money thing too. You know, you always have to, chase the money trail.
Well, you get on the money trail, right? And I'll find out this week. I have an insider. An insider might be able to help me with that. I'm not sure about the Moderna, but I would be willing to say yes, they do. Moderna, these guys, they own a lot of stock, and the Moderna stock has gone to the moon. I mean, seriously, gone to the moon. So, I mean, the Watchtower, I'm sure, is in there somewhere, someplace, but I would be willing to say that, yeah, they have Moderna, but I know for a fact they have Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So, so where are you calling in from, sister? Can I ask?
From Alaska.
Alaska. Holy mackerel. So
Alaska.
So you guys got YouTube up there or what?
Oh yeah, we got YouTube up here.
All right.
I've been watching you, and it's just an awesome program. I hope you never stop your YouTube channel. And interestingly, I found out that a sister locally had left, and her two daughters had been sexually molested. And that's the reason that she left, and she was very zealous, very sweet sister, and she shunned me. She was working at an office, and she, when I went in to see the doctor, she just didn't talk to me. But it's just wonderful to be able to talk to her and go over things.
Well, isn't that nice? That certainly is enlightening, isn't it? Huh? When that happens, it's just great.
Oh,
yeah. No. More and more are waking up. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Well,
it's just unbelievable.
Well, we thank you. We thank you for coming all the way in from Alaska. And don't you be a stranger.
All right, Rick. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you. Yep. Okay, I believe we got Canada coming in. Go ahead, Canada. I believe we got Canada. Go ahead, Canada. All right. I do believe we had Canada, but maybe not. We'll move forward. I gotta mute. I'm gonna make a mute here. All right, we got more people now coming in, so that's good. Now I'm not sure if we're gonna go to heart at 9 o'clock or 10 or 9:30. I'm not sure. Let me just check my messages here, and I'll be able to tell you. I'm still not sure. So it looks like we might be going JW World News till 9:30, but we'll see what happens. But we got more news to talk about, so stay with us. And then heart to heart, it's going to come up at either 9 or 9:30, so stay with us. I know you're going to enjoy that program tonight. So let's see what else is going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. So that's interesting. The sister there calling in from Alaska and how she was saying that, maybe they have a sinister way about wanting to push the COVID virus is because they own stock in Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Moderna too. Hey, I don't know if you saw
Hello, Rick.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, follow the money. Where Watchtower, they got stock in, and you could research it, and you're seeing it. Yeah, tell everybody to follow their money, or follow Watchtower's money.
Well, you get on the money trail. You can find a lot of things that you didn't know before.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I have to tell you this, that generally speaking, it kind of ties in with the next story we have as well. And I don't know if you heard about it or not, but a Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses was destroyed in Australia. It was the same Kingdom Hall they highlighted on that documentary I was just talking about. So,
oh yeah,
yeah, the Kingdom Hall was totally destroyed, and it was just yesterday, as a matter of fact. It was just yesterday morning, and consequently, many people are thinking that, well, I don't know for sure, but I don't know who would have burned it down. I hope it wasn't an ex-witness, because that doesn't really work into our way of doing business. They're going to blame.
No, it don't look good on us.
No.
Yeah.
So hopefully it wasn't an ex-witness, but I have to say that they're going to blame it on an ex-witness anyways. They're going to say that it was
Sure they will.
it was Satan or an apostate or just Fellowship One or someone like that. They're going to put the blame, but I'm not going to. I'm going to just say that it could also be. I don't know. Who knows? The police don't even know, but it could also be a witness that watched the program, and they're so irate.
Sure.
They're so irate that program was played all over Australia that they just got so upset and burned the Kingdom Hall down. So we don't know at this point who burned the hall down, but that also happened in my neck of the woods right here in Wilmington, Massachusetts.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I'd say probably about 15, 20 years ago that someone tried to burn the hall down. They didn't completely do it all, but they threw gasoline on the door, lit a match, and took off. And they did catch the person that did it. And when they caught him, his reason,
Wow.
they caught the person. And what he said is that his sister, who was studying with the witnesses and was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, he knew that she was in a cult, and he just was so upset with the way witnesses do business that he's going to burn the Kingdom Hall down. We don't advocate that, but there has been a number. Yeah,
No, we don't.
Yeah, no. But there has been Kingdom Halls burned. As a matter of fact, probably the
I'll tell you what, Red Oak, Iowa. I'm in Iowa. Red Oak, Iowa. Not Red Oak. I'm sorry. Oakland. They right before the pandemic, I know somebody that their son that got invited to that Kingdom Hall and went there for another friend that was a witness, obviously, and they locked the doors. This is a cornfield, a small Iowa town, a cornfield. The elders, once the service started, locked the doors, man. Just like I told an elder one night, Rick, you people in your organization, well, mainly your organization, have pissed a lot of people off. Sorry for my French, but it's just, and I'm not advocating violence or, destruction to any Kingdom Halls or anything. I'm just trying to say, you made a lot of people mad. All these false predictions and people scaring the hell out of people and the pedophilia and covering that up. I mean, it's pretty, there's so much of it, and I understand why they're probably locking their doors when the service starts. So,
well, they have been doing that. In fact, even for many years, they've been doing it. But now the security, now of course, they're at the Zoom meeting, so they're not meeting in the Kingdom Halls. But if they do go back, that's one of the reasons.
This was before COVID, though. This was right before COVID, in like 2019.
Oh, yeah.
So,
let's hear what Randy has to say. Hang in there with us, Jeff. Well, Randy, what's up?
Yeah, I knew they'd been locking the doors a long time. Like that sister that had she went to get her minor daughter, and it took her forever for them to come unlock the door and let her daughter come out to her there in McAllister, Oklahoma, Debbie McDaniel. But what I was thinking, when Jeff said that, a thought just popped into my mind. We need to remember, if when and if they start having meetings again, all across the country, we need to call all of the fire marshals and get them shut down for that, because that's definitely a fire hazard.
Hey, good point, man. Yes, it is. And there's no other door. Usually, I don't know. The Kingdom Halls, as I remember, were just two front doors. The one was built in the late 80s, so there might have been another door, but yeah, that is it's a good point. Yeah, you shouldn't lock any doors in a public place like that, or it ain't a public place, but
too many people died in fires because of that. And you
Absolutely.
can't get away with saying, well, it's got an automatic thing that opens, because I checked in with that. It was an issue we had at Arby's. We went after the meeting, the Arby's restaurant, and they locked the doors. Sure. And I talked to the fire marshal. I found out that if they lock the doors, it's not enough just to have the kind that open. They have to train somebody to stand there that can open it and be there the whole time.
Sure. Wow. I'm sure the elders leave the doors too, Kingdom Halls, listen to the meeting.
Anyway, I think we need, even if not just to give them trouble, but I mean, what if there was a fire? I mean, that's deadly.
Sure. A lot of people could die. That is true. Absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you, the worst destruction of a Kingdom Hall that I know of happened in 1985. And it happened in Australia. It was at the Casula Kingdom Hall in Australia, and a bomb. You guys probably remember this. I mean, there's been numerous. I would say there's been hundreds. I'd say 100 or more Kingdom Halls have been burned, but this one was bombed in 1985, and it destroyed the Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall, and it injured more than 100 men, women, and children, and actually killed one witness that was in the front row. I don't know if you guys remember that or not, but it was a disgruntled witness who had a bone to pick with the Watchtower, and he actually planted a bomb under the platform. And that bomb was, a ticking time bomb. He had it set to a clock, and then the clock went off during a meeting, and bingo, bango, that bomb went off, and it was a big bomb. It wasn't a small bomb. It blew the Kingdom Hall completely apart. And I'll tell you what, one man was killed, which is sad to say. The Kingdom Hall was destroyed. Children were hurt. 100 people were hurt. Even a little 3-month-old baby was hospitalized with a concussion. But, it got worldwide publicity. And I remember that back in 1985. I was still a witness, but I remember that. And
wow.
I do. I remember that. And I was wondering, well, who would have done that? I didn't think in terms of an apostate, but that's who would have done it. Their motives, of course, were against the Watchtower for just being the cruel organization that it is. Now, I would never in any way, I'd never encourage anyone to do something like that. But, surprising this doesn't happen more, because they've ticked so many people off. So it was a sad state of affairs. Yeah.
I'll tell you, sir, I went to a Catholic mass a while back. They didn't lock the doors after the service started. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say is, and I'm not advocating this or any kind of violence at all. That gives them more power. But what I'm trying to say, my point is, they're locking the doors where all these other religions, I don't think, are. Anyway, the Catholic Church is not doing that. And, again, as I have said, they've made a lot of people mad. I mean, that's my point. I don't know. It's,
Well, I'll tell you what, Jeff, you're really hitting the nail on the head here. You're really hitting the nail on the head.
You are too, Rick.
I'm sorry?
You are too, Rick.
Yeah, well, what happened is I used to, going back in the 90s, early 90s, late 80s, I lived in Florida. I live in Massachusetts now, but I lived in Florida, and I went to a Kingdom Hall down there, and they had us all doing security. So we had to go out and check the parking lot, and we were trained on security and what to do if somebody came and tried to get through the door. We locked the door, and we had two brothers sitting on the inside of the Kingdom Hall, door locked, and then one of us would have to get up every half hour and just go out and walk around the parking lot. And then we were also instructed that if someone, when we went out in the parking lot, was not a known person coming to the Kingdom Hall, we had to ask them a question. And the question was, what book are we studying in the book study? And if they didn't know and they pursued their interest in still wanting to come into the Kingdom Hall, we were told to tackle the brother, whoever it would be, tackle the person and bring him down to the ground. Don't let him get through the door. Can you imagine that? These are witnesses talking.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was told that.
Wow.
I'm saying, well, I don't know if I want to do that. Nope, you've got to do it. If he comes close, he's trying to get in the Kingdom Hall. I said, well, what's the problem here? What do we have? Some type of a mass murderer ready to come in the hall? They said, no, but we have an apostate, and he's mad because his family's still in and they're not speaking with him and connecting with him. And he's very irate. So if that person comes, you tackle him in the parking lot. Can you imagine that?
That's unreal.
Jeez.
That's unreal, Rick.
Yeah. Jeez. Some of the things you hear. Yeah, go ahead. You're on with us.
Hey, Rick, it's Zachary. That thing that happened where the bomb was in the Kingdom Hall, I do remember that.
You do?
Yeah, I do remember it very well. I forgot some of the details, of course, but I do remember someone died, and I remember perforated eardrums people had. I can't remember what the reaction was in my hall. I remember having to do door duty where the door was locked, and you had to sit in the lobby, and people couldn't just walk in. But I don't remember if that was because something had happened in other Kingdom Halls. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Kingdom Halls in the States.
Yeah.
But I remember that very well, that bomb planted. In fact, you said under the platform, right?
They put it under the platform. In fact,
Yeah.
I'll just give you a little insight here. I do have it here. A powerful bomb estimated by police to be 1 kilogram. It had been hidden under the speaker's platform and timed to go off during the Bible lecture. Its explosion sent the speaker through the roof and landed him on a pile of debris outside the hall, bleeding, critically injured, with 2 broken legs. Graham Wykes was sitting in the front row. He was killed instantly. His wife and 2 daughters, that is, suffered injuries, severe injuries. One member of the society's branch staff, Sue Schultz, had her nose broken and lost her front teeth. An interested attender, that is, had to have shrapnel removed from her eyes. So it was a sad thing. Yeah. It's terrible.
Yeah.
At first, they even thought it was terrorism. They thought it might have been an act of terrorism, but they ruled that out. And it doesn't really say they caught the person who did it. I have to retract on that. But it does say that it was, they had grotesque motives, and they assumed it was someone that evidently had a bone to pick with the witnesses. Yeah. Yeah.
The problem is with that, Rick, it gives Watchtower power. They love that. That is propaganda that they could put out there and use, say, oh, look at us. We're the poor Watchtower, and this is what happened to us. And that's what they do with that. Of course, with Russia, that's what they're doing with that now too,
Oh, yeah. Well, they use it as the persecution complex, Jeff. And what it does, it feeds into their way of thinking. They say, well, look at that. Jehovah's Kingdom Hall's bombed. Oh, we're being persecuted. Oh, that's what's going to happen in the last days. So it does kind of feed into their persecution. So I would never advocate bombing a Kingdom Hall. Really, don't ever try anything like that.
Sure.
No. Right.
No violence.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness, I'll tell you, some of these things you hear though, there's a lot of stories to be told in the witness world. And it's just amazing to me that it's just amazing this doesn't happen more often, to be honest with you, because lately they're taking a lot of people off, Yeah, so I wanted to bring that to everyone's attention here tonight on that fire. In fact, what's kind of coincidental, if you would, that Kingdom Hall was featured in this week's documentary in Australia. And that very Kingdom Hall they showed in the film was burned. It's burned down to the ground. So I'm going to be kind of curious to see who did it. So only time will tell. So little by little, we'll have to keep an eye on it. All right. So let's move down here. Let's see what else we got going. I want to say this. We're talking here. I want to bring this up because it's important. We had a young man last week. Well, he came on the 6 screens. He was on our news. His name is Brandon, and he's a 19-year-old young man, and he was kicked out of his house. He doesn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness. His father is an elder. His mother's a loyal witness. And so poor Brandon, he came on last week, and he was kicked out of his house. You can't live here, Brandon. If you don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness, you cannot live with us. There's the door. See you later. This young man had autism. He had autism. And he came on, he talked to us. I did not even know that before he came on the program. But he came on and he talked with us. And he said that he really doesn't want to be a witness anymore. And all he wanted to do was be an auto mechanic. He wanted to go to school to be an auto mechanic. And his father didn't approve of it and somewhat concluded he was going against Jehovah's organization because he wanted to be an auto mechanic. And that's all he wanted to be. And even his father was an auto mechanic. And why wouldn't you want your child to go to school and learn more about auto mechanics?
Sure.
You know?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And
yeah, they throw education under the bus unless you want to be a carpenter, a plumber, or a electrician, which nothing wrong with those trades, but that can help them, for one, build kingdom halls. But yeah, you know, anything else, that's no good.
Well,
that's incredible.
Well, it is incredible, Jeff, because the thing is today, even to be an auto mechanic, you know, one time they called them grease monkeys. They're not grease monkeys anymore. They're technicians.
No,
they're technicians.
They are.
They
Sure.
got to know computerized systems and all of that. So you have to go to school. If you're going to be a good auto tech today, you've got to go to school for it. You just don't turn a wrench here or there. So he wanted to go to school. And no, that's worldly. That's worldly, you know. So poor Brandon. But the reason why I wanted to bring it up is so they kicked him out of his house, an autistic young man trying to find, he was homeless for a while. He found someone that put him up for a while. But then he says that it's very evil. And then they found, the witnesses found out where he was staying. So they sent a Jehovah's Witness woman out to where he was staying. And she knocked on the door and he looked out through the peephole and he saw it was her. And she was from the congregation he went to. They sent her out to spy and to snitch. That's what the witnesses do. They have a culture of they have a culture of snitching and a culture of spying on people. It's terrible. And
I saw it for the several years I was in. Everybody tells on everybody. That is the truth.
Oh yeah.
And it's like the Nazis. You know, they were encouraged to tell on everybody or each other, and that's what's going on with the Jehovah's Witnesses. Absolutely. I saw it firsthand as you did, Rick.
Yeah, so that's what they do. And see, the elders, they divide sin into 2 types. One type is, you know, it's not too bad. It's just a small sin. And that should be resolved by the brothers and sisters themselves. Maybe one of the brothers and sisters watched an R-rated movie or something. They might not get involved with that as being bad. But then there's and people would snitch on you. I had people snitch on me.
Sure.
Yeah, really. So they would snitch. Did you know Brother Farron went to watch a movie the other day? He watched Schindler's List. They'd bring up something like that and they'd snitch on you. And, it wouldn't really result in a judicial committee. But then on the other hand, this is what gets me mad. This is what gets me mad. Even biblically speaking, the Bible says that if you have an issue, if you see your brother sinning, you go to the person first. You go to the person first and say, brother, you're doing something not good here. Can I talk to you about it? You don't go to the elders first, but many witnesses, they circumvent that. They go right to the elders. If they see a brother did something pretty serious, they'll go right to the elders and they will rat on them. They will snitch on them. And it's a culture that creates a snitching. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. Yeah.
I saw it firsthand, like I just said, Rick. It's like the Nazis did. Tell on everybody and tell on yourself too.
Yeah.
That's what the witnesses advocated.
Oh yeah.
So.
Well, you hang in there, Jeff. We got a sister coming in from New York. Come on, sister. Jeff's here with us. Go ahead, sister.
Here's the thing that I'm thinking is, I do not condone that violence, but like the Kingdom Hall that blew up, I mean, like you said, I believe you said yourself, Rick, I'm surprised. I know things have happened, but I'm not surprised that has happened more than it has. With the snitching and spying and things like that, I'm just surprised, that things like that and things that have happened. But, the blowing up the Kingdom Halls, I'm surprised that it's not, I don't want to say a weekly occurrence, but I would think, once you get out of it and you realize what you were in, and like with the unbelieving mates who have the wife and family in, and things like they have done things too. So I've heard. I'm just surprised it hasn't happened more than it has.
Well, exactly right.
Sure.
That's what I think too, and I think Jeff does. He feels the same way as well, right, Jeff?
Sure, I do. Yeah, I mean, and I want to add to the sister's comment. I mean, they rip apart families, destroy lives, ruin dreams. It just goes on and on.
Because I've heard of like the unbelieving.
I can see how people could get very upset.
Yeah, the unbelieving mate that has gone to the hall and has caused some commotion, like during a meeting. I mean, I'm in New York, but I've heard of certain stories, not necessarily in New York, but where that has happened. An unbelieving mate has gone to the hall and either dragged his wife out or got mad at an elder and things like that. But when you think about it, I mean, when you become the family style and then the woman, studies with the Watchtower and takes the kids, what life, if he was used to celebrating Christmas and doing this and that with his wife, and now, you can't do anything. I mean, I can't say that, yes, violence is the answer, but, I just,
No, it's not. It's not the answer, man, but this organization takes so much from people. It took so much from me and other people. They just, like I said, they steal dreams. They tear apart families. It just goes on and on. I mean, it's unreal what they do. I mean, they devastate people's lives and ruin them, and they change them for the worst. And that's what people need to know. And the people that are in, they need to really think about what's going on, what you have seen, and do some research on this cult. And it's a cult in everybody's neighborhood. There's a lot of Kingdom Halls still out there. I know they've gone to Zoom meetings, but there's so many Kingdom Halls out there that, it tells me there's still a lot of witnesses out there. They need to do their research on their organization. And don't be afraid to do it. Watchtower is telling them not to do it.
I agree 100%. But the thing is, once you are in a cult, you don't realize what's going on until you step back, until you get out of it. So once you're in,
yes,
I mean,
yes, ma'am. And that's what I'm trying to say, ma'am, is these people need to they need to do some research. Don't listen to Watchtower. It's okay with them telling you not to go and research outside of the org. It's like going to a car dealer. We'll say you go to a Chevrolet dealer or a Ford dealer or a Dodge dealer. You go to that one dealer and they tell you, hey, don't go to any other dealers. We're the right one. Don't look on the internet of anybody's other models and stuff like that. You look at ours. Well, that's a red flag to me, and that's how people need to look at it.
Yeah.
It's just it's incredible. Some organization telling people not to research them other than them on the internet. That is a red flag right there.
Yes, exactly. Because I remember when the internet first came out, and I wasn't even going to the meetings back then, but my mother was alive back then. You know, when the computers and the internet all got popular, she told me at the meetings that they were admonished at the meetings to stay away from the internet. They were admonished about that.
Yeah,
and now look at them now. What are they called now? JW.org.
.org, yeah.
And even when they said that, if you remember, I don't know, how long you were, with them, but back when they were saying do not, stay from the internet, they already had the website back there. It was called Watchtower Bible Society or whatever. They already had a website, but we're telling their members to stay away.
Sure.
Now they're JW.org,
Yeah, the internet really, it made it so people could research their history.
That's why they told them to stay away. That's why they wanted them to stay away.
Absolutely, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's it. But the thing is the hypocrisy. Back then, I think it was the 90s, I don't know what year it was, to stay away from the internet. And they had a website when they were saying that. But look at them now, jw.org. And I think you need to take your iPad or something to look up, at the meetings. I heard that a couple of years ago. You need to look up everything on your iPad or something now, but stay away from the internet,
Wow.
That's the hypocrisy right there.
It's shocking to me that any organization could tell somebody that, or a group of people like that, and and that couldn't be a red flag to that individual. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, just like I said, you don't know what you're in until you step back from it. My mother always said, use the brain that Jehovah gave you. So when I was I was never baptized, but when I'm never really interested in it, but as an adult, and I used to say to her, well, I used the brain that Jehovah gave me, and I'm finding out this, that, and the other. She really had no comeback to me because I was using the brain that Jehovah gave me,
Sure. Yes, ma'am. It's like somebody telling you years ago not to go to the library. I mean, stay off the internet. Don't go to the library. Yeah, years ago, that would have been incredible for somebody to tell you that. So, yeah, your mother was right.
Yeah.
That's good points, guys. That's real good points. If you're not doing your due diligence today, I mean, you're lost. I mean, there's so much information out there. Like Rick said a long time ago, if you don't do your due diligence, maybe you belong in there. I mean, there's so much there, and everybody today uses the internet. If you want to know something about cars, you go to YouTube. So why wouldn't you do that? But anyway, good conversation, guys.
Yeah, great conversation. And that's good. So, Dan, you'll be coming on in 5 minutes or so. So looking forward to your program.
Sounds good, Rick. We got a good show tonight. The former elder convention, he's given lots of talks at conventions, and he's got some stuff to share. And it's sad, but it's going to make your blood boil and going to make you glad you're out. Anyway, Rick, that's it.
Well, thank you, Dan. That's great to hear. Now, listen, if you guys are on YouTube or Facebook and you want to come and listen to the Heart to Heart program with this former elder coming up next in a few minutes, what you want to do is there's different ways you can listen to the program here. We only do JW World News on Facebook and JW World News Live on YouTube. Our other programs, we have a number of other programs tonight. If you want to listen into it on YouTube, scroll down to the description box and it'll tell you how to come in and listen. You can either listen on the telephone line, or you can connect with the video suite. Or if you're on Facebook, go to sixscreensofthewatchtower.com. Sixscreensofthewatchtower.com. Scroll down. It shows you how to. There's a link there. It says hit here for video suite link, and you'll be able to come into the suite, or you can call in by the telephone number. So do that if you want to listen to the programs that go on after this, because we discontinue YouTube and Facebook after JW World News. Okay, I wanted to mention a couple of things here before we close down. I was wondering, I did some research. I was wondering, why is it that the Jehovah's Witnesses snitch and they rat on one another? And they don't have any problem at all doing that and spying and acting like complete idiots. Why does that happen? Well, I came across a word or a term. The term is concertive control. Concertive control. And it's one of the most potent tools of high control groups like the Jehovah's Witnesses. The group members identify so closely with the group that the official norms and rules become part of their self-identity. Let me just emphasize that. These people become so involved, they become so ingrained in the Watchtower, they identify with all of the rules of the Watchtower. And when a group member commits a transgression, it is as if that member is spitting in their face. The group members perceive it as a personal challenge and injury to their person, because those norms and rules of the Watchtower are much a part of them as their right thumb. This gives them the impetus to follow the organization's rules to bring that person back in line. And that's why we have such a famous snitch culture in the Jehovah's Witness religion. Well, that's fine. That's about it for JW World News. I want to thank everyone for coming in, but I got a few things to talk about. I get a lot of news stories all week long. People send me stories. It's like a news clearinghouse, like UPI. If you have a story that you come across on the internet, well, send it to me, either on Facebook Messenger or send it to jwworldnews@gmail.com. And every day I get news stories coming forth, and that helps me with my news stories for the weekend. So any news stories you get, send them to me. And I want to thank everyone that's doing that. And that helps me when I go to do the news every week right here on the Six Screens. I also want to give a shout out to all the people. There's so many people out there right now that are real activists. First of all, to anyone who's a protester. If you are a protester against the Watchtower, you get 5 gold stars and 3 happy faces. Really, because that's very meaningful. I want to thank all the protesters that protest. You have the courage to do that and the strength to do it. God willing to you. Keep on doing it. And I want to thank all these so-called activist apostates on YouTube, Facebook, and writing in all the forums, all those writing in Reddit, all those who have YouTube videos and Facebook groups. I want to give a shout out to all of you and say you're making a difference. Don't you guys ever give in, up, or out. It's making a big difference. I want to thank Lloyd Evans. I want to thank Mike and Kimmy. I want to thank JW Escape. I want to thank all of the critical thinkers and all those different people that are exposing the Watchtower. Keep up the good work because it's working. We are getting points on the scoreboard. It's all making a difference. So, friends, if you have an activist bone in your body and you think you can become an activist, join the club. Join the club. Do a YouTube video. Start a Facebook group. And I'm going to tell you even another thing. All of the people writing in on the Six Screens video suite, all the people calling up the Six Screens and making their comments and giving their thoughts on our live radio program, all the people commenting on YouTube and Facebook, you're all activists. I'm proud of you all. I want you to keep doing it because it's making a difference. And when we get people calling into the program, it helps so much. You want to say something, Jeff, before we leave?
Yeah, you bet, Rick. We all need to be one driving force, like you're trying to say.
Yes, and we should all be united. There's no reason why there's no reason why these ex-witnesses have to get in scuffles with one another, argue with one another. Even if you totally disagree, look, we can at least agree on the fact that we're fighting the Watchtower. So regardless of whether you're an atheist or whether you're a Christian or who you are, if you are fighting against the Watchtower, you are my brother and sister. So let's keep it up, keep waving that flag of victory. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. We're going to the heart-to-heart program that's coming up next. We're going to disconnect YouTube. Go to the description box. It'll tell you how to listen into the rest of the program. And thank you all for coming in tonight. We're going to end the stream right now. All right, we're ending the YouTube stream.